In the legal world, there is a combination of forces that feed a corrupt and suffocating legal system for attorneys. Law schools, law professionals, judges, and even the firms themselves for whom you work create a system, a matrix, if you will, that is nothing like what you thought when you passed the bar exam. The purpose of this podcast is to help you escape this legal matrix, leading you out of the proverbial desert to be free of the bondage of the matrix. Hosted by Bryce D. Nyer, attorney at law with over 30 years experience in the trenches of civil and criminal litigation at the state, federal, and international levels. He's a highly accomplished and resourceful legal professional, a true master of his craft, and he's here to help you get your life back. Here's your host, Bryce D. Nyer.
All right. This is Bryce D. Nyer coming at you live from Fayetteville, North Carolina, home of Fort Bragg, where everyday men and women don the uniform and do what? Wage war against the enemies that would do what? Seek to take the very freedoms away from us that we so often take for granted. Okay. So today, it's one of whatever times on here, what are we going to talk about? I'll tell you what we're going to talk about. We're going to talk about as Rome burns. That's right, as Rome burns. Gee, Bryce, what are you talking about? Sometimes my producer for this episode, Bryce Prescott, Media Automated, he's great. It's family to me. Sometimes he tells me that my messages are a little heavy. I need to lighten up a little bit. And I, for the most part, I got a great sense of humor. But the reality is, when it's time to get real, it's time to get real. So we're going to get real, raw, and relevant tonight on this topic of as Rome burns. So look, here's the deal. The world is on fire. It's a mess. Everybody's blaming everybody else. But I'm going to tell you what the underlying thing is. We're living in lies, delusion, and deception. We are. And when I say as Rome burns, it kind of goes back to the first century to me, like when Nero was the emperor of Rome, present-day Italy. And obviously he was a maniac, and he just could not govern. He was crazy. He was absolutely nutso and crazy. And when things were happening around him, he just didn't care. He sought to blame everybody else. He had scapegoats. He slaughtered many people. A lot of, at that time, those that followed Christ. And the saying goes, as Rome burns. And so what happens in our life, what happens in our professions is, as everything is happening in the world, people are ducking their heads in the sand. They're not taking personal accountability for what they do or fail to do, or what they say or fail to say. And at times in my life, that has happened. And I see that in the legal field, the legal profession, all the time. And it's just not with clients, it's with lawyers and judges too. You cannot have a world, you cannot have a company, you cannot have a law firm, you cannot have a life to where you live in deception and delusion, lies, and completely fail to acknowledge the truth. Now, I have done that sometime, but I have this innate conviction for me, and I do believe it comes from God. I do. Jesus too. That when I do something stupid, when I sin, when I do something wrong, it triggers in me a pain, emotionally, mentally, and physically, and it just does. I wake up, I look in the mirror, and I see this big S on my forehead, and it's like, that stands for stupid. It doesn't stand for Superman at all. And a lot of you are walking around with that S on your forehead too, and I'm telling you, it doesn't stand for Superman or Superwoman at all. And all around you, your life, when you fail to recognize that you're living in delusion, deception, and lies, Rome is burning. It's burning. Your equivalent of Rome is burning to the ground as you play the violin, and you just sit there and duck your head in the sand. And you're seeing this across the world. You're seeing this in the European Union. You're seeing this in the United Kingdom. You're seeing it even in the United States, all over the place, where people have just accepted this delusion, deception, and lies in every single profession. And it's because they don't have the backbone and they don't have the courage to stand up for what is right and what is true. They're too worried about their money, too worried about their pensions, too worried about their careers, or whatever the hell it is. They just don't have the cojones to stand up and live and operate in truth. And this, frankly, it's prevalent everywhere. And I just see it all the time. I see it all the time in the legal matrix. When I walk into a courtroom, when I sit there and I think back on all the cases we litigated on different topics, the culture wars, even the judges, too scared to live and operate in truth, too scared to stand up for what's right. I'll never forget when they were doing the confirmation hearings for one of our current Supreme Court justices. It's on the bench right now. And they asked her to define what a woman is, and she just sat there and blah, 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 blah. And it was just stupid. No guts, no courage, no nothing. The answer was obvious. The facts are obvious. But now we've come to this point in the world that people are just crazy. They're just delusional. And again, around them, the flames are just rising as Rome burns. And this is what happens to many empires. This is what happens to great civilizations. When you sit there and you duck your head in the sand and you ignore the facts and you ignore the truth and you sit there and redefine everything that is true in life, your kingdoms, your empires, your world around you just burns to the ground. It burns to the ground. This, again, has happened in my life when I did stupid things, when I lied, when clearly when I wasn't truthful, when I wasn't being honest with myself or others. My world burned to the ground. Absolutely burned to the ground. And it was nobody else's fault. Nobody's. It was my fault. I was accountable and I was responsible for what I did, failed to do, said, or failed to say. I was not a victim. I was just stupid. And I was deluding myself and I was deceiving myself. And I wanted to feel good and I wanted, maybe I'm wrong. No. And then you awaken one day and you realize that no, what I did was wrong. What I did was sinful. What I said was wrong or sinful. You awaken to those facts. And when you do, you feel this conviction, you feel this pain. I'm sitting here today while I was working and watching what's raging across the world today, especially in the Middle East and the European Union. I'm like, these people are damn crazy. They're deluded. And then the folks allowing it to happen as Rome burns, literally as Rome burns, that people are just, they're just, I don't know what world they're living in. Because it's not the world of truth. And I know some people say, well, it's escape the legal matrix. Well, listen to me here. The legal systems in every single city, town, country, wherever, where Rome is burning to the ground, the legal system is being used as that vehicle to destroy it. I'm sitting here watching constantly over the years, and the United Kingdom of all places, I cannot believe the abridgment, the erasure of free speech that's going on in the United Kingdom. It just blows my mind across the world that countries are monitoring social media and going and arresting people and seizing them. Elderly people, veterans. I mean, it's just uncanny, unreal. It's so Orwellian. It's so 1984 Orwell that it just blows the mind. And this convinces me more and more every day. And I don't care what you say, you can laugh, mock it. I'm telling you that Scripture is true. We are headed toward the end. And the legal systems that you see in every country, they are the catapult, the vehicle that's being used to silence and conquer people who live and operate in truth. You can laugh at it, you can mock it, but you better take a damn good look and see what's happening in your world. I'll never forget the movie The Devil's Advocate with Al Pacino and Keanu Reeves. I love that movie. If you've never seen that movie, and I've talked about this before in my earlier podcast, you really need to watch it. You really need to watch it because toward the end of the movie, the closing scenes, it's just Al Pacino's speech, his acting. You're just like, whoa. And I'm just telling you, if you watch that movie from beginning to end, and especially at the end, you'll see it. You'll see it. You'll look around and you'll look at your world and you'll begin to understand. When they tell you, when you hear like, I'm going through hell, or it's just everything's just hell on earth, well, I'm telling you, hell is on earth. It is. Right now. Everybody talks about religion and makes fun of it, but Satan wasn't kicked to hell. He was kicked down to the earth. Look at what's going on in your world. Look how it's burning to the ground. Look at you law students, you lawyers, look at your world. You're going into courtrooms and you're arguing things you know to be just frankly insane. Just frankly insane. You know, if anybody speaks up against homosexuality, you're homophobe. You speak up against radical Islam, you're Islamophobe. If you speak up against anything that's wrong, that's evil, that's deceptive, that's deluded, you're just labeled and you're persecuted. And so what you see going on in the world today is you see spiritual wars, culture wars, civil wars. It's happening in the United States. And the legal systems are being used as those vehicles for vindictive, baseless litigation. And everybody's like, oh, no, it's not. Yes, it is. And guess what? It can happen to you. And I've said this many times before. When I sat there and watched people that were worth millions or billions attack with the court system, and in particular, President Trump, I don't care whether you like him or not. I don't care. What I care about is what's right and what's wrong. And when I saw the legal system used as that vehicle for baseless, vindictive litigation and the insanity of the judges, the insanity of the jurors, the insanity of the prosecutors, I just sat there and said, Rome's on fire. It's burning to the ground. There goes the Colosseum. It's all ashes now. This is what happens to civilizations when they don't live in truth, when the morality decays, when everything's just, whatever the hell you want to do, when you want to do it, feels good, just do it. It implodes from within. It decays. And this is what is happening in your world today. This is what's happening in the legal system. This is what the legal matrix does. It does not care how you feel. It consumes and consumes and consumes, and it feeds upon lies and delusion and deception, and it just eradicates any semblance of truth that is said. That's what's happening in your world. You talk about and you look at your children. What type of world are your children going to inherit? Because my son's in his early 20s. He's a young Army officer, and I fear for him. I fear for him. I don't know how much longer the world's going to be here. But I remember when I was his age in my 20s and I was a young lieutenant, it was a totally different world. Totally different. And I look at what's going on now, and I'm like, man, I just can't imagine being like in my 20s. I just can't imagine. I don't know. I guess people that weren't alive when I was alive, they can't compare it. They weren't there. But you can see videos, you can see history. If you Google it, you can see the difference. You can feel the difference. In today's world, it's a mess. It's an absolute Rome burning to the ground. And there are Neros and Caligulas. They're all over the place. They're all over the place. This is something you need to think about. You need to wake up, everybody. You law students, you lawyers especially, need to wake the hell up. Wake up. You want to be social justice warriors? No. How about just litigating in truth? How about litigating for the truth? How about having some courage and standing up for what's right? Stop taking the Kool-Aid. Stop drinking the Kool-Aid. Stop it. You judges, stop it. Get some backbone. The legal profession, 1.3 million active lawyers in the United States, get some backbone. Do it now. Because eventually, when you wake up and you realize what the truth is, it may be too late. Maybe too late. Your world may be gone. Maybe gone. Yeah, that's a heavy topic. I just feel like talking about it tonight. It's what I feel like doing. It's my podcast. I can do whatever the hell I want. I guess until the government says I can't and they come in and arrest me. There are certain countries I'm not going to travel to anymore. You want to know why I'm not going to travel to them? Because they live in delusion and deception. I'm sure some of my things I post on social media, some things I say, I'm sure their hate crimes they'd probably try and arrest me. I applaud those that stand up for truth. There are people who have lost their lives, their livelihoods, everything. They got guts. And yet the rest of everybody's just a keyboard warrior, just sit around drinking beer, watching Netflix, Sunday football, whatever the hell it is, totally ignoring that the world's burning to the ground. And I'm going to tell you something. There's a saying, you know what it is? You reap what you sow. You reap what you sow. So when your life falls apart, it all just crumbles. The house of cards, the civilization is built on sand of lies, delusion, and deception. Don't sit there and act surprised when the legal system comes for you, and it will. The legal matrix, it eventually will. It will. It will. And then you're gonna go, man, I should have done this. I should have said this, and you didn't. I can tell you for me personally, Bryce Nero, I'm not doing it. I'm not selling out. I won't do it. I'm not going to do it. It may cost me my career, maybe cost me my law license, maybe my freedom, maybe my life. I don't know, but I just can't do it. I'm not going to sell out. I'm not going to be a Nero. I'm not going to be a Caligula. I'm not doing it. I won't do it. I refuse. I absolutely refuse to do it. So ask, where in your world are you living in delusion, deception, and lies? Where are you acting like Nero or Caligula or one of those insane people that your world's collapsing because of what you do, what you fail to do, what you say, or what you fail to say? Your freedoms are eroding. One world order, new world order, globalism, it's on the march. And I'm telling you people, you better wake the hell up. You lawyers better wake the hell up. You better band together and start going on the attack against the legal matrix. You better do it, because if you don't, you're going to be a prisoner of it. This is Bryce Nero, and I am out of here.